Hi everyone, we're continuing our Structures of Life investigation, which mostly we've done plants. And now today we're going to talk about part 2, which is that all organisms have a life cycle. Today's lesson, it really involves a lot of reading from the textbook that we would be using in school. Some of the language and vocabulary is a little bit tricky, so I'm going to go ahead and do it as a read aloud for you. Then there'll be a task on the last slide. Let's get started. Life cycles. The word cycle means go around. A wheel goes around. You can observe a wheel go through one cycle. Put a mark on a wheel. That's the beginning part. Turn the wheel and watch the mark go around. When the mark comes back to the beginning point, the wheel has completed one cycle. Another cycle is the one that happens every day from sunrise one day to sunrise the next day. 1 year is a cycle. The moon goes through a cycle of phases each month. Organisms go through life cycles, but an organism's life cycle is a little different from going around in a circle. Like all cycles, a life cycle has a beginning, things happen, and then you find yourself back at the beginning again. You studied the life cycle of a bean plant. The life cycle started with a bean seed. Inside the bean seed was the dormant embryo of a bean plant. When the bean seed soaked up water, the seed germinated. The bean plant started growing. The root was the first structure to appear. Soon after that, the first leaves appeared on the end of a stem. The baby bean plant had developed into a bean seedling. It took several weeks for the bean plant to get bigger and grow more leaves and stems. When the bean plant was mature, it developed flowers. The flowers changed into fruits called green beans. Seeds developed inside the fruits. When the fruits were mature, there was a new crop of bean seeds. The bean plant had gone through its life cycle. The plant started as a seed and completed the cycle when it produced new seeds. The seeds might grow into new plants. The life cycle repeats over and over again. Let's notice this photograph here on the right. Here's the bean life cycle. What's amazing about the life cycle is it just goes around and around. We can start over here at the bean seed, move to germinated seed, the bean seedling. The seed is growing. This is the bean plant with the green beans hanging off of it. And those individual green beans are bean pods with seeds, and the cycle just begins again. Now we'll talk about the butterfly life cycle. Other organisms have life cycles too, but animal life cycles can be very different from the life cycle of a bean plant. Some animals are born alive and some animals hatch from eggs. They all grow up to be adults. The adults mate and produce offspring. The life cycle of the monarch butterfly starts with an egg. A tiny larva called a caterpillar hatches out of the egg. The caterpillar eats and grows. When it is about as big as your finger, the caterpillar changes into a pupa inside a chrysalis. In a couple of weeks, the adult butterfly breaks out of the chrysalis and flies away. After mating, the female lays eggs, completing the life cycle. Again, here's the egg at the beginning of the life cycle, the baby butterfly known as the larva, the pupa inside a chrysalis, and then here's the adult butterfly who will then lay eggs, and the cycle continues. Ladybug life cycle. Ladybugs, like monarch butterflies, are insects. Ladybugs and butterflies have similar stages in their life cycles. This life cycle is similar to a number of other kinds of insects. The ladybug life cycle starts when adult ladybugs mate and the female lays eggs. When an egg hatches, a larva comes out. The black larva is the offspring, but it doesn't look like its parents. Excuse me. The larva eats and grows for 3 or 4 weeks before it pupates. Inside the pupa, the larva is changing. When the pupa opens, an adult ladybug comes out. Excuse me. Adult ladybugs are red with black spots. Now the ladybug offspring looks just like its parents. After mating, the female will lay eggs. Sorry. Trout life cycle. Trouts lay eggs in streams. After 3 to 4 weeks, the eggs hatch and babies swim out. The babies stay attached to their yolks. The yolks are used as food for another 2 to 3 weeks. Now the young fish are called fry. But they don't look like their parents yet. For the next year, they grow up little by little. In 2 years, they are adults. They look just like their parents. They mate and lay eggs in the stream. Can you describe the trout life cycle? Here's the eggs. Here's the baby trout, which is called a fry, and then here's an adult trout who will lay eggs. Frog life cycle. Frogs lay eggs in water too. When an egg hatches, a tadpole swims out. It looks more like a fish with a big head than a frog. A tadpole doesn't look like its parents. The tadpole eats and grows. In a few weeks, the tadpole starts to change. Its long, flat tail gets shorter and its legs start to grow. In a few more weeks, the tadpole has grown into a frog. Now it looks just like its parents. And we will definitely be seeing those around Evesham. Goose life cycle. If you live in Kings Grant, you might see some of these. Other animal life cycles. The goose's life cycle begins with an egg. When the egg hatches, a baby gosling comes out. Soon, the offspring grows and matures. In a year, the female goose is ready to mate and lay eggs. The life cycle is complete. Mammals, such as mice, do not lay eggs. Baby mice grow inside the mother just like humans. The offspring are born alive. Newborn mice are pink, hairless, and blind. You can see that they are mice, but they don't look like their parents yet. In a few days, the babies open their eyes and fur starts to grow. In a few weeks, the offspring will be adults. They will be ready to continue the life cycle and have babies of their own. The elephant's life cycle starts with the birth of a baby elephant. The baby elephant eats and grows for years. When a female elephant is 12 or 13 years old, she will be ready to start having her own baby. When the female elephant has her baby, the life cycle is complete. The mouse life cycle, look at these teeny tiny baby mice. The little young mouse and the adult mouse. Life is a repeating cycle. Plants, insects, fish, frogs, birds, mammals, and all other living things have life cycles. An organism's life cycle is defined by stages. The organism goes through these important stages between the time it is born and the time it produces offspring. The life cycle of the bean takes a few weeks. The life cycles of some insects and the frog take about a year. The life cycle of the elephant takes more than 10 years. All of these life cycles are different. Think about the time the life cycle takes for each organism and the stages the organism goes through. Both the time and the stages are different for every kind of organism. This is our last step. Type your answers to the next 3 questions on the next slide. That's the slide that will come after this one. Think about the life cycle. Number 1, what is a life cycle? Number 2, describe the life cycle of one kind of animal. You can use any of the ones that we highlighted in this slide, or you can use one of your own. Look at the tomato plant to the right. Describe the life cycle of the tomato. Remember, the seeds are inside. These are the flowers on the tomato plant. The flower will become the fruit. Here's the fruit of the tomato plant, which has the seeds inside. When you type your answers, please make sure you write in complete sentences. Go back and read parts of the article to help you. And if you get confused on some of the language, listen to my recording and rewind it. You can be prepared to share your answers during our next Google Meet. You can reshare this document with me and I'll be able to see your answers. You could also share them with me in Seesaw.